this water softener with these two hookups right here hooked up to here. And this is a 15-year-old water softener. I've started to get very low water pressure in my house. I'm sure the resin in that water softener is getting old. I can talk about that at a later time. But I'm gonna swap out my water softener. The one thing that I will say though is I don't have a shutoff valve to bypass my water softener at all. And when I say that is these tee down go to my water softener, but I don't have the opportunity to just turn off a valve and then feed it down to the water softener, or turn off two valves and open it up and bypass my water softener altogether. I'm going to do that today. Right now, to do this project, I had to turn the water off to my entire house. So my entire house is shut off, and then the water, the soft water goes out over to the water heater, and I have that turned off as well. That allows me to turn off these two items. Now what I'm going to be doing today, ignore those pipes by the way, that's for my backup sump pump that I'll probably film at a later date. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to fix this in a way that it probably should have been originally, and I won't have to deal with it in the future anymore if I ever have to swap out my water softener again. And I'm going to do that with SharkBite fittings. Now to cut the pipe, what I'm doing here is I am using this copper pipe cutting tool, and this sits over here like this, and you spin it over the pipe. It's got a little cutting wheel right here, and you can see it's scoring the metal, and I just keep turning it and tightening it. Turn it and tighten it, turn it and tighten it. What this will eventually do is cut through the pipe, and I'll have a nice finished end. Turn it and tighten it, turn it and tighten it. Alright, now what I have is two very finished looking pipes that I can get my SharkBite fittings onto. But I'm going to have a valve right here. So I'm going to have a T, and I'm going to have a T here, and then I'm going to have a valve in between here. And I have nothing to support the valve, and I don't really feel like that is a good setup. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to cut a board and mount it across here, so I have something to hook onto and screw that onto. Alright, so I'm ready to put the valve in here. The distance between these two T's right here, which is where the valve is going to go, and I want the valve to turn that way, so you'll want to make sure that you're paying attention when you put your valve in, that it's going to be in the right, it's going to open and close in the right direction that you want it to for the space that you have. But what we are going to do is, this span is 5 1/8. The valve itself is 3 7/8, which leaves me 1 1/4 to play with on either side. Now the question here is how far into the pipe, into the T or the fitting, does the pipe go? So think about it this way: how far into does this go? Prior to putting this one on, I measured from the end to here 1.5 inches. There's a 1/2 inch remaining, so that leads me to believe that there's a full inch that, well, I know for a fact there's a full inch that goes into this SharkBite fitting. Now they make a bunch of tools and adapter and stuff like that, but if you know how to use a basic tape measure, you should be good to go. So 1 inch goes into these fittings. I have 1.25 inches to play with, so if I have 1.25 inches to play with, but I have to have that 1.25 inches divided by 2, which leaves me 0.625, or a 1/2 inch plus 1/8 marker, and then I know that these go in 1 inch. I need 2 pieces that are 2.625 inches. So 2 5/8 inches long. So that's what I've cut these two pipes. There's 2 pipes that I have that are ready to go here. I'm going to clean this one up here and get it ready to go under the fitting, but you know, there's some stuff in there that just is gross. which is what happens with your pipes over time. But anyways, that is going to fill my gap, and it should leave me exactly where I need to be, so it's centered and exactly what I need. All right, well, we're almost at the finished product here. I kind of leapt forward a little bit here, but they're real easy to put together. I didn't have to sit there and show you how I assemble all these, but when I said that these were 2 5/8 distance, they fit about an inch in. That actually worked out perfect. I have a nice distance in here. I put my board in here. If you're ever going to be operating a valve, and this is what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, don't put any unnecessary stress on the pipes. What I like about this setup, what I like about this valve here, is it's got 2 anchor points. I can put a board in behind it, and I got a nice finished setup and look here. So I'm going to cut one more board. I'll be back for that. I'm going to cut one more board and put that between these 2 valves. But now essentially, if I want to use my water softener, I close this and I open this and I open this. Now the water will flow into my water softener. If I ever have to do maintenance on my water softener, I can shut this off and I can open this, and it'll bypass, and I'll have water in the house while I'm working on my water softener. All right, we are all finished. These are closed. This is closed. I have everything anchored and secured really well. This is really important. Again, you don't want to put any undue stress on your pipes. Now, part of not wanting to put any undue stress on your pipes is when you're turning your water back on, and I'm going to turn the water on. This is live. I'm not editing it unless I have to edit it. But when you start to turn your water back on, you want to do it very slowly. Because what'll happen if you don't is you can damage your pipes. Because if you think about water going up a pipe and hitting whatever it is that's gonna stop it, it can put a lot of stress. To say this is stopping, and if you just crank that open and you hit this, you could break this seam. If it's a PVC type fitting or a poor even solder. So you always want to open your valves up slowly and let water into the line slowly. Now I've opened this. This is now open. My water meter is no longer running, and there is water up to here right now. There's water up to here right now. And what I'm going to be able to do next is open up this valve and let it travel up to here, and it's also going to go down to here and here. So if I have no leaks after I open this up, I'm in pretty good shape. So now I'm opening this valve, and I don't have any leaks going on here. And again, I'm going slowly. I haven't opened it wide open because, again, you want to ease water back into your lines. You don't want to put any undue stress on the lines here. Now my water is about to pressurize, and my water meter is almost ready to stop here. There we go. So now I'm going to open this. That's wide open now. Now my 2 valves here that I have for the water softener that I'm going to be able to work on are good. And then the only other thing that I'm going to do is open up the valve to my water heater and let the water that I just opened up go into my water heater. And now my water should be on in my house, and I have no leaks, and I'm in good shape. So with no water softener hooked up, this bypasses and goes right to my water heater. When I hook up the water softener, which I'm going to go do right now, I'm going to close this and I'm going to open these 2 so it goes through the water softener. So if I ever have to maintenance my water softener, I close these again and I open these up and I'm not without water in my house, but I can disconnect everything and work on it and clean it or do whatever I need to do, and I don't have to worry about ever my house being down without water. Alright, so now that I got the water softener hooked up, it's recharging right now, but I have this closed, so now these are open, so now the water flows down this way instead of this way, and goes through the unit. And I have it hooked up in the back here, and everything seems to be working fine. And now we'll just make sure that we have the right water pressure in the house with the new unit, and clean setup, we should be good to go.